Hi there, good evening, welcome along. The transfer show is back. Now, will Bruno Guimarães make his move to Arsenal? There have been major developments today as the summer window really begins to heat up. And bringing in the heat, Mark McAdam, James Savundra this evening. They're going to dissect all the business. Not just that, will Vinicius Jr swap Madrid for North London? We'll focus on the Brazil superstar as Real Madrid continue their pre-season. Chelsea have done some major business today. While he was at the World Cup, Jordan Henderson wasn't expected to move to Stamford Bridge. That's gone through. Trevor Chalobah is leaving Chelsea. Details of his move abroad coming up. And Liverpool's Cody Gakpo is attracting interest from elsewhere in the Premier League. Find out if he's leaving Anfield for London. Right, let's start with what may be a setback for the Premier League champions Arsenal in their pursuit of Bruno Guimarães. So, Mark, where are we with this one?
Like you said at the top of the show, a significant day because this feels like we've been talking about Bruno Guimarães to Arsenal for a number of weeks and possibly even months now. But finally, there has been club-to-club talks over the last 24 hours and Arsenal's opening offer for the Brazilian midfielder has been rejected by Newcastle United. What we now know is that the two clubs are talking because up until this point, it had been through intermediaries and there'd been a lot of noise on social media, a lot of reporting, a lot of things being said, but actually nothing had really happened between Arsenal and Newcastle, and that's key in this situation. We know that Bruno Guimarães is now with his Newcastle teammates in La Manga. In terms of his contract, he's got 2 years plus a for Newcastle, so essentially has a 3-year contract. So they really hold all the cards in this situation. In terms of what happens next, it's up to Arsenal to decide their next move.
But come on, Mark, this is going to happen, isn't it?
If I was a betting man, which I'm not, I would say that Arsenal end up with Bruno Guimarães at the end of the transfer window. Now, I know that's not something Newcastle United fans want to hear, but I think it's the direction of travel. You know, it's a big deal. He's 28 years old. He's going to be 29 in November. He's one of those players that's been up to Newcastle and had a fabulous period of time since his arrival. He's been the heartbeat of that team. He's been the heartbeat of the city. He's been a key player for obviously Eddie Howe until his departure. And he's probably the one player that totally gets it. Totally gets the city, the fan base, the culture, just everything about what that city represents. And he has been a fan on the pitch, living and breathing everything that those Geordies want to see. So this will really hurt them. And this will be a tough one to swallow. Anthony Gordon, fine. Barcelona, we've doubled our money. Sandro Tonali, fine. We've doubled our money. Yeah, we're not so happy about him going to Spurs, but we've got good money for a player that was brilliant for us, but not always brilliant. Bruno will hurt because he's the one that they have a connection with. You put me on the spot. I think this deal gets done. Mikel Arteta wants him. He wants Arsenal. And now it's just a case of finding that magic number to keep everyone happy.
Of course, I put you on the spot. Welcome to the transfer show, Mark. Get used to it.
I'll come for you, don't worry.
This is a nightmare for Newcastle, isn't it? I mean, Mark's just reeled off the players that have gone. Let's add Eddie Howe to that as well. This is just falling apart, isn't it?
Yeah, it's been a nightmare 12 months. You go back to last summer and what happened with the Alexander Isak situation, which really affected Newcastle's pre-season. They didn't spend the money wisely as yet. Huge outgoings off the pitch. There's been poor performances on the pitch. They finished 12th last season. There's a real sense of instability now because you've got a very young squad, youngsters with no Premier League experience, a new head coach coming in with no Premier League experience, with half a pre-season as well. A very, very young squad. A lot of ambition this club had when the Public Investment Fund took over in 2021. It feels a long way away from those trips to Wembley, Champions League nights. It feels like we're a long way away from Newcastle getting back to that level, which is what Newcastle fans were promised and have consistently been promised. But Mark's right. I think the fans could stomach losing some of those key players over the course of the last few years. But Bruno Guimarães really embodies what has been so brilliant over the course of this roller coaster journey over the last 5 years at Newcastle United. And for him to depart, I think Newcastle would feel, and the fans would feel, maybe it's the final straw almost. It's a case of, it was great the 5 years we had, but have we now given up on this dream and daring to be great again?
Well, on that, how have the richest club in the world got to be in this situation?
Well, a club the size of Newcastle, based on where they're at in recent years in the Premier League and in terms of their revenue, means they can't just spend their way out of trouble, which they did when the Public Investment Fund took over, when they signed the likes of Kieran Trippier and Chris Wood to get them out of trouble, and it propelled them from a relegation battle to qualifying for the Champions League and eventually winning a major trophy. But the financial rules make it very difficult for clubs that don't generate a huge amount of commercial income and matchday income, which is something that Newcastle are looking to work on now in terms of a bigger stadium. It makes it very difficult for those clubs to consistently compete with those at the very top of English football. That's why Aston Villa have struggled as well when it comes to these financial rules. It's worth bearing in mind the Public Investment Fund were aware of these rules at the time, but because they're not generating that income, let's look at the season before last. Newcastle brought in £52 million in terms of matchday income. Manchester United that same season, £160 million. The financial rules means it's there in a way to preserve the status quo. Those who are always rich remain rich, and those that are trying to punch above their weight have to find different creative ways of doing so.
It's got to be wrong, hasn't it?
And it makes it very difficult for clubs like Newcastle, and it's why it is very frustrating, the fact they've not been able to maintain the high levels they've hit. Eddie Howe got them qualifying for Champions League football twice. They won a League Cup trophy. But now they're opting for a completely different transfer strategy where they're attracting young players between the age of 18 to 24, players with a high ceiling that they can sell for big money further down the line. You'd think this strategy is very, very different from what the Public Investment Fund had in mind when they took over the club. It's going to be fascinating to see how things play out, because are they going to remain patient with this strategy, which will take a long time for things to pay off? You'd think, unless they have a miraculous season this year, it looks unlikely they're going to qualify for Europe, and you wonder how long they'll remain committed to this project.
Yeah, Mark, I go on about them being the richest club in the world, but in reality then, are they?
No, they're not, because the Premier League only allows you to spend, with new squad cost ratio rules, 85% of your turnover on footballing costs. James touched upon some of the figures there. So, for example, Newcastle United, in their last set of financial accounts to the end of June 2025, they had a turnover of 335 million.
The return to training.
You compare that, and obviously you can spend 85% of that. You compare that to someone like Manchester City, 694 million,
important chapter,
which was 20 million down on the season before because they didn't progress as far in the Champions League, or Arsenal at 691 million. So they have got less than half the money to spend.
Pitches where
and if you take, say, 85% of 691 million, gives you a fairly chunky amount of money you can spend on footballing costs.
And the foundation.
So that's why a lot of people say, how can they not spend? Why can't they do it? The rules in place don't allow them to do it. Yes, PIF, as we know, access to billions and billions of pounds. They've invested in sport across the globe. They've withdrawn a lot of that recently with Live Golf, and we've seen what's happened in various other sports. But they simply cannot compete. And that's the problem they've had. And that's why now perhaps they've gone to a slightly different model, where they've gone for younger players. Maybe they go, well, let's see if we can have a journey with a young group. Let's start with a young group and let's go on a journey with them for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Because David Hopkinson, the chief exec, has been very bullish and said, I want Newcastle United to be competing for the Premier League around 2030. So 4 seasons' time. Maybe he's saying this young group going, right, this is the group we are going to mould and develop and grow with, and see if we can get them to where we want to get them. And the Newcastle fans are desperate, absolutely desperate to see more of the same type of success they've had under Eddie Howe. And it's just a shame that that phase, that era has come to an end. Yeah. And this is the start of a new journey.
Every
and they'll be
player
desperately hoping
understands that
that
preseason offers
these young
a fresh
players can maybe just punch above their weight, because there is a lot of pressure and expectation
to earn a
on this
place in
current
Arteta's
Newcastle
plans.
group.
Speaking of
before the
eras,
competitive fixtures
Arsenal,
begin.
they'll be hoping they've got an era which is beginning. Will that era include Vinicius Jr?
Several senior stars are still away.
Well, one thing we know is
following
he's
their involvement
returned
in
for
the FIFA
pre-season
World Cup
training with Real
and are
Madrid
expected
following Brazil's exit from the World Cup.
So does that mean no?
I think it's a deal which is going to be
rejoin
very
the squad
complex
after
and
completing
difficult
their
for
scheduled
Arsenal to do.
holidays.
The one thing in Arsenal's
Their
favour
gradual
is the fact
return.
that Vinicius Jr has 1 year left in his contract, and so Real Madrid are in a slightly tricky situation
strengthen the
whereby
squad even
they need to
further
convince him to
as
stay
Arsenal
for another
continue
season
building towards
or
the new
more
campaign.
and commit to a long-term contract, or they need to stomach the idea of him being sold in this transfer window to
One
avoid
player
him
who was
leaving for
notably
free.
absent
Now,
from
we know
training
Real Madrid are
is William
experts
Saliba.
at signing free agents. They don't want to be in a situation next summer where they see Vinicius Jr join Paris
French
Saint-Germain,
defender
join
is
Arsenal,
currently
join one of their
recovering
top
from a back
rivals
injury,
for absolutely nothing. So they've got no intention of selling him in this transfer window. They're confident that he'll agree
During
a
the
new
World
deal. And
Cup
at the same time,
and remains
Arsenal
under the
are monitoring this
supervision of
situation.
Arsenal's
He is their
medical team.
#1 target on the left-hand side. There's a vacancy there for Vinicius Jr to enter and become a
While
Premier
there is
League
no reason
legend,
for
you'd have to
panic,
say. But
supporters will
it's
naturally
very
be
difficult
hoping
for
to
Arsenel to
see
get
one
this
of their
deal done,
most-
not least because of the finances which would be involved in Vinicius Jr.'s wages and, of course, a transfer
Important
fee they'd need to pay
defenders return to
Real
full
Madrid. But
fitness
as the days
as
tick down in
quickly
this
as
transfer
possible.
window, and there isn't a deal signed by Vinicius Jr, then there does remain a very strong possibility that he could
Saliba has
leave. But
become a
again,
key
the
figure in
numbers here
Arsenal's defense
are going
over
to be
the past few
astronomical.
seasons.
Isn't that the point,
His
Mark?
composure on the
It's
ball.
all very well Vinicius Jr. maybe agitating for more money on his contract or saying he's going to go, but there's
Ability
nowhere
to
to
read the
go
game
because
and
no one can
partnership
afford
at
him,
the heart of
surely.
the back line.
Outside
Played
of the Saudi Pro League, I don't think anyone really can get to where he's at financially.
Major role in
If
the
you
team's
believe the
success.
reports, he's earning
His
between
recovery will
400
be
and
carefully managed
£450,000 a week. Now, Arsenal's highest paid player, Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice, all on
Sure,
around
he is fully ready when the season
£300,000.
begins.
So, as
Away
James
from
touched
the
upon
injury
there, they would
concerns.
have to absolutely smash their wage structure to bring in a player of his calibre. Now,
Arteta's
Arsenal are
primary
Premier League
focus
champions.
remains building a
You
squad capable
talk
of
about the
competing
start
at
of
the
an
high
era, or the era of success that they believe they can have.
level.
Now, let's be honest,
Pre-season is about
Arsenal,
much
if they
more than
are as
improving
effective as they
fitness.
were last season,
It is a-
should possibly go on and dominate English football for a number of years. Chelsea, Manchester
creating
United,
understanding
Manchester
between
City,
teammates,
Liverpool,
integrating
all
new arrivals.
with new coaches, new era. This is the most stable that Arsenal have been.
Refining
They've had
tactical
Mikel
systems
Arteta at the
and
helm for a
ensuring
number of
every
years.
player
They've
is
spent over
physically-
£1 billion in the transfer window. They've assembled this really brilliant title-winning squad.
And mentally
They just need
prepared.
to top it up now.
Every sprint
Would a marquee
completed during
signing like
training,
Vinicius Jr
every-
be the type of player that would take Arsenal again to that next level? Absolutely.
Tactical instruction from the
But
coaching staff.
it does feel like
And every
financially
competitive drill
this is going
serves
to
a purpose.
completely transform the club. Historically, a club that's not really spent huge amounts of money on wages and players.
These are the
They
moments where
have
winning habits
over the
are
last
formed
few years.
long before the
Everyone
first
remembers
Premier
the
League.
Arsene Wenger era where they just didn't spend any money.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this. There's a part of me
Whistle
that
is
thinks
blown.
this is a cynical move
Competition for
by
places
Vinicius
is
Jr and
expected
his
to be
camp to
fierce.
engineer a new contract at Real Madrid. Look at me, the Premier League champions of Arsenal want
Young
me,
players will
so
be eager to
therefore
catch the
I'm a
manager's
man
eye.
in demand. You
Experienced
should give me a new
stars will be
contract
looking-
and I'm happy to stay. Jose Mourinho will play a big part in this as well because clearly this is a superstar
To
player that
maintain their
can unlock
positions.
things, and Real Madrid
And any
haven't
new
won
signings
La
will
Liga for
want
the
to
last
settle
couple of
into
years.
the
They
squad
need to
as
get
quick-
back to where
And
they
won
want to.
anything for the last couple
Exactly,
of
and
years.
they didn't win a single Spanish Cup. So
as
he's going to want to have the
Healthy
best of the best
competition
of the
often
best
brings out
at
the
that
very
football
best in
club to
players.
ensure that he delivers silverware, because that's the expectation.
So whether or not, Mark, Arsenal get him,
And Arteta
don't they
will
have
welcome
to
the
concentrate,
intensity.
given on what's happened
Arsenal's
in
pre-season
defensively,
schedule will
don't
al-
they have to concentrate maybe on centre-backs and bring someone in?
This is definitely an area of concern, mostly
Also
because of the
include a number
injuries
of
that they've
friendly
suffered.
matches,
We know that they're
giving
interested in
supporters their
John
first
Stones, but of
glimpse of how
course
the team
he's
is-
joined Inter Milan, signed a 2-year contract. He's not available now. We know that there is interest in Ezri
Shaping
Konsa,
up.
and the dialogue
These fixtures provide valuable
internally
opportunities to
has
build
been
match
discussed.
fitness,
They've explored the parameters of a potential deal with regards to Aston Villa. However, they're not going to let a key defender go.
Tactical ideas,
There's going to be a
and
valuation
develop
that Arsenal
partnerships
have and
across the
Aston Villa
pitch
have, and
before
we
competitive
understand there's quite a significant gap between those two valuations at the moment. We know that Saliba
returns.
is going to be out for some
Expectations
time.
surrounding
We
Arsenal
know that
continue
Yuri
to grow
Timber
with every
is
passing-
out at the moment, although he has teased the fact that it'll be back soon. How soon, we don't know. We know that Ben White has suffered with injuries
Supporters
as well. So
believe this squad
a number
has
of
the
key
quality
players for
to
Arsenal at the
challenge
back,
for the biggest-
and big question marks over their ability to be involved, certainly for the start of the campaign. So, yeah, Arsenal centre-backs,
And Arteta
definitely a
knows that
position to keep an
consistent
eye on with
preparation
regards
is
to the Gunners.
essential.
Absolutely. So much going on in this window.
Those
as you can
ambitions
see.
are to be